Yes, I'm trying to understand this mental health issue. What does that look like in the second gen? Like, if I was a Tito and you're trying to make me understand this issue, like, what would you say to make me understand this issue?
Yeah, okay.
Where I don't just go say, well, you'll be okay. It's just a season.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm imagining talking to a Tito and trying to convince him that this is an issue.
Because I know I could definitely see it, right? That it could be a problem because, again, they are working through a different system and they see this and they're like, I've been there, I've been sad too, but I'm okay.
Yeah. So how would you explain that to a Tito especially they've probably gone through more adversity, right?
That's right. Like, how would you show me the importance of this? I guess.
I think it's easier for me to go to adults who are more open to this idea first. There are some adults in my church who are more listening and more trying to be understanding. So I would go to them first to help them understand this, and then when I find first generation adults who understand the mental health thing, then they can explain it to that kind of person. But right off the top,
I do want you to explain to me because I want to understand it more.
Okay.
It's like with our youth group, right? I mean, I know we went through some like drama and stuff like that, and I know people who've gone to our youth group that had mental health issues that were really bad.
Yeah, I think mental health, it's like, I think to help you understand, like if you were a Tito who was trying to understand, I would say like mental health has nothing to do with the material aspect. Like you can be rich, you can have everything you want materially, but then like there are emotional needs that you need, like being affirmed or encouraged, having community, having friends. That's an emotional need. And mental health issues for millennials and Gen Z looks like they're going through peer pressure, or they're going through rejection from their friend group, or they feel like an outcast in their friend group. So they don't feel, so even though their physical needs are met, they have food, they have electronics, they have laptops, internet, but they don't have close friendships. Or even if they do have close friendships, they deal with like a lot of pressure to keep those friendships. Yeah, knowing how to navigate those kinds of issues, like those emotional issues, would be helpful for their mental health. Otherwise, they'll go through depression, and when they go through depression, it leads to them feeling like they're not worthy of friendships. They feel like they're not worthy of being loved by others, and they go through shame. So does that help, or are you more confused?
Yeah, but I've gone through those too.
Yeah.
If I was a Tito, I'd say something like that.
So, that's annoying.
But maybe you hit a point there. I'm not sure if this is a case by case thing or generational thing, but you mentioned about like maybe the lack of deep friendships. Is that something that you see in younger kids?
I think they have deep friendships, but they don't. I think they either scared to lose their deep friendships, or they feel that something they've done has been too disgusting and gross that they couldn't open up to their deep friendships about it.
They need different sets of friends. I'm just kidding.
but I think maybe I don't know, like maybe this is controversial to say, but if the Tito who says like, well, I went through that too, but I'm okay. Well, I think what I would say is, I guess from the second generation perspective, is you went through it, but you didn't deal with it emotionally in an emotionally healthy way. Like there's still some deep-seated, like maybe you just became numb to it, and then you didn't you didn't really process it in a healthy way. Is how like
it's the Tito who would sing karaoke, and then when he's drunk and starts crying and just singing out loud.
Yeah. So I mean, that's something. Yeah. I guess I would say maybe the Tito didn't deal with it in a healthy way yet, and that's why he doesn't see the need for mental health. Because he hasn't dealt with it, or he hasn't had a counselor to talk about those issues with. So he doesn't see the benefit of having a counselor. Is what I would say. Yeah, but I mean that's kind of offensive to say. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how like a second gen would think. Like, you say that you went through it, but did you process it well? Is that what I would say?
Well, I think in general, what we're trying to say here is it would be better for our kids to be emotionally healthy, right? And if we've gone through some hard stuff, then let's teach our kids how to process those things.
Yeah,
in a healthy way.
And it's not just like in a healthy way, but in a biblical way too. Like how to deal with rejection from, like, how does the gospel speak to rejection? That's always a good thing to discuss. That's something that I always emphasize when I teach youth.
And it's not a bad thing to be pastoral and to ask like how you doing, how's life. Even those little conversations can go a long way.
You mean with the adults versus to youth?
Yeah. When I was in college, I think, right when I started meeting with my mentor, all we did was I would go to his house, we'd sit down, face to face, and he's like, "What's going on?" And we just start talking. It's more of like a life on life kind of conversation. That was really helpful for me at that time. It helps me process things that I'm going through and what I'm thinking about. I think in general, it's just really helpful to have these moments of pastoral care, of just like, hey, how are you doing? Those kind of things.